Hello survivors and welcome to another Walking Dead Road to Survival video, and in this video we're going to be taking a first look at Gold Mythic Rolland, who is going to be coming to TWD RTS as an advanced token will character. This is the first time we've ever had a Rolland in the game, and Rolland is actually a character from the comic books. So after all these years, we are still having some brand new characters come in that are official comic book characters. Even if Rolland was only briefly in the comic books, I believe for 20 issues, and probably only featured a little bit, it was going to be Earl's blacksmith apprentice, and that's why the get-up looks the way it does. Hammer in hand, lots of tools, tool belt, so on and so forth. On the left-hand side, you can see he's got kind of cool weapons across the chest, and it's just taken one of those weapons out of the fire. And we can see in the background, maybe a little teaser, that the nemesis of the game is going to be coming in. Potentially Earl might be coming in the future. As we see on the stats at level 1440, limit break 3, Rolland here has 14,043 attack, 29,843 defense, and a whopping 43,888 HP. It's going to be a fast character, going to be control, mythic of course, and is going to be joining the Hilltop Allegiance. It is worth noting, just like Hina, these are looking like boosted stats versus previously released Gold Mythic characters. Now if we look at Rolland's Adrenaline Rush, it is called Torn Hands. It's got a recharge rate of 55 AP, which is pretty fast, kind of normal for a defense team character. Deal 25% of this fighter's max HP as damage to a line of enemies. While battling on the defense team, all fast and strong enemies get disarmed for 2 turns. All other enemies get 4,500 hemorrhage damage. This is obviously kind of crazy in terms of the amount of damage output it's going to do. Again, we see a lot of these defense team characters doing immense amounts of damage, and it's based on his max HP. So again, you just raise that HP really high, gets nice and tanky, but also does significant damage. Fast and strong characters attacking this team that Rolland's going to be in will be disarmed for 2 turns, which is reasonably problematic. It's not massive, but the hemorrhage is nasty. If you're going to attack with characters that aren't fast and strong, your team will basically eventually just take itself out. Hemorrhage will just keep on scaling up. Generally pretty dirty to deal with. Most of the time, most teams don't have something to do with that. So you have to really take that into account when attacking Rolland teams, because these newer defense team characters are probably going to be a bit slower to take out because of their stat boosts. That means they've got better survivability. Rushes are more likely to go off. They're also more likely to survive for longer afterwards. So the hemorrhage just has more chance to tick up and tick up and tick up. Okay, so here we have the Adrenaline Rush of Rolland up and rolling. No pun intended, but we are going to receive the damage and we're going to see the effects that come afterwards. The rush is going to come in, it's going to target a tough character, and this will generally happen. And as you can see, all of the effects have come in. The strong and fast characters are disarmed, and the alert and tough characters have the hemorrhage. Now, if I was to just defend on these characters, we can see how the hemorrhage will scale. The first turn it will be 4,500, then the next turn it'll be 9,000. It will go up by 4,500 every turn. So obviously as this scales up, it's going to take out characters but get progressively worse and worse and worse. Now, you can heal it back up like I did, but eventually it's going to get too much to handle. And as you can see, it never runs out. It can only be cleansed, or you can only heal it back. Bonus HP doesn't work, so on and so forth. And of course, the damage you saw on this Adrenaline Rush will scale with the HP of Rolland. The higher you get that HP, the higher that damage is going to be. I will say there are other parts of Rolland's kit which will boost that HP himself, so we'll check that out later. So this is already going to get a boost off of base. If we check out the upgrades here, you can see at grade 2 it get an upgrade while battling on a defense team. All strong and fast enemies get disarmed for 2 turns. At grade 4, it'll get an upgrade where all other enemies get 4,500 hemorrhage damage. And then at limit break 1, it'll get a 10% damage boost. So it'll go from 15% up to 25% of Rolland's max HP as damage dealt to the enemy. Then at limit break 3, AP cost is reduced to 55 So I'm guessing the initial AP cost will be 66, as that's generally like the grade above. I would say this rush is very, very problematic if you're going to attack with tough characters and alert characters. The disarm isn't as problematic. In that particular clip that I just showed, I did lose out certain things. Like I did lose out on double attack from the weapon of Ghost, so it can be effective in terms of certain things, but it isn't going to be as problematic as slowly bleeding to death, which is what Hemorrhage will 100% be a problem about. So it looks like a very powerful defense team character, but very offensive so far as a defense team character, but with no real risk, because the scaling on this rush is purely off of HP, which most people are quite happy to race because that increases your survivability on defense teams. So no real downside so far to Rolland's kit in terms of how you're going to build him. Now next up we'll check out is the signature move. It's called Bloody Positive. Initial cooldown of turn 1, cooldown of 2 turns, number of uses unlimited. Deal 20% of this fighter's max HP as damage to a line of enemies. If those enemies have a positive effect, they get 4,000 hemorrhage damage. This is obviously going to work exactly like the rush does. It scales off of HP, so it's great. So you're going to just, the higher HP you get, the boost will come in for the signature move and the adrenaline rush. Hemorrhage damage here does work on attack as well. This is worth noting. So you could potentially use him on an attack team or faction assault, not just on defense, and just get the hemorrhage damage in and just slowly have that scale up. It will only scale up by 4,000 per turn, but if you have a lacerator in faction assault, you can also double it every turn as well. So I think this signature move is pretty good. Again, pretty offensive for a defense-based character, like a character that you're mainly going to see on a defense team. These defense team characters are doing, honestly, crazy amounts of damage, if I'm honest. And it all scales off of defensive stats, so they don't really get any downside. And this is off of turn 1 as well. If this guy gets 100,000 HP, which I will say isn't going to be a problem, he will be doing 20,000 damage just off of turn 1 on this signature move. Attack team characters are in a lot of trouble. So we'll start the fight, and just to show you that it does also work on an attack team, I'll use this on an attack team. Pretty simple as that. We're going to attack the top line. Now this doesn't do trait damage, it is worth noting, because it's flat damage based on the HP. There's no trait damage, so you never have to do attack versus or anything like that. Not that you'd probably do it. It will also bypass defense rating. So if someone's got 1,000,000 defense, it will still always do the same amount of damage based on Rolland's max HP, which I think I managed to get up to 100k. So they should do around about 20k damage. Now there are positive effects on those two characters because they have got Halo, and it will also give them hemorrhage. And then again, as this will work, it will just scale up over the course of the fight. It'll go to 8k on the next turn, although we do have a character that self-cleanses, so it's worth noting that it can be cleansed. At the beginning of the next turn, it goes up to 8k for Alice, then it'll go up to 12, 16, so on and so forth. Now if we check out the upgrades on the signature move, you can see at grade 3 it gets an upgrade where if those enemies have a positive effect, they get 4,000 hemorrhage damage. At grade 5, it'll get 10% damage, where initially it'll do 10% and it'll get boosted up to 20%. Then into the limit breaks at LB2, it gets -1 to starting cooldown, so it goes from a 2-turn starting cooldown down to a 1-turn starting cooldown. This signature move I think is pretty good. It will just do significant damage the higher HP Rolland has, and you saw I got 100,000 HP there with no HP on the leader, no real significantly powerful weapon, I'll be honest. His base HP is really high because of obviously some other stuff in his kit. It's the passives, guys. But basically, we can see that this is actually going to be doing significant damage off of turn 1. And that's problematic for attack teams, and is usable potentially, like I said, in faction assault, and maybe even on certain attack teams. Very, very niche attack teams, I would think. Just be able to get hemorrhage off very early on. If you want to just hit the auto button or something like that, I'm not really sure. And do remember that defense teams go second. So the attack team will have their first turn. They'll be able to set up their attacks, but also they'll be buffing themselves. So there's much more likeliness that the attack team will have positive effects after the first turn than they would if, for instance, Rolland was used on an attack team. There has to be very specific before the fight starts buffs for a defense team, which doesn't happen as often. So signature move is nice. It does work exactly like the rush. Deals damage based on the HP. It looks like stacking that HP up to get massive amounts of damage could be the way to go. Now, before we check out those passives, we are going to be doing an advanced token giveaway because Rolland is an advanced token wheel character. We're going to be giving away 10,000 advanced tokens to one lucky winner, and all you have to do is type in the chat the word blacksmith. We have got the blacksmith's apprentice here. I don't know what you want to come up with when it comes to the idea around that entry phrase, but make sure you make it a sentence that you enter with just so that YouTube doesn't spam out your comment. I look forward to what you guys come up with your entries. Best of luck in the giveaway. Now back to the video. So checking out the mythic abilities of Rolland, these are the passive skills, of course. He has got precision because he is a control role character. This does mean those bleeds are more likely to hit and the disarm so far. And the next one is called hard work. At the start of each turn, 100% chance this fighter heals by 30% of their max HP for each enemy with a negative status effect for 2 turns. This is actually kind of crazy because he potentially could get like over 100% heal at the beginning of his turn every turn with just 4 negative effects on the entire enemy team, which isn't too hard to do, you know. There are a lot of characters out there that do basic controls, and if Rolland lays down that rush and has 5 negative effects, does that mean that the boost here is going to go up to 150% max HP? Now you might not think over 100% does anything, but if any heal reduction comes in, he'll still heal for very high amounts. Next up is the one that I'm talking about, Healing Pain, 60% HP boost. This is exactly what Peacekeeper has. I believe it's 60%, or maybe it is Nor. I know one of them has a big HP boost. I'm not sure which one has 60%. The next one's called Totally Exhausted. When this fighter or a teammate dies, 60% chance all enemies get minus 30 AP for 2 turns. This is powerful because I believe this potentially could work even when Rolland has been taken out. That will test out. It might continue throughout the fight even when Rolland is down. Well, that is very important. I'll test that out for you. But if Rolland doesn't die, then every teammate that's taken out, you're looking at minus AP for your entire team, which obviously means no rushes, which is very problematic. Signature moves will still work, but then there are characters out there with days and stuff like that that could team up with Rolland, so yeah, very problematic. Let's see how this last one works, because I think this is probably the only one that's really problematic. We might see how the heal works as well, and try and get as many negative effects as possible. Okay, so first things first, we're going to check out how this heal works. We're going to get as many negative effects as possible, and this character can potentially impair my team as I attack them. As you can see, one character got impaired. We're going to get another impair. Maybe we can get another impair. We do get a couple of impairs. Now, what's that heal going to be like? 150%. Massive amounts of healing, and obviously massive amounts of HP for Rolland to heal up as well. That max HP is going to be very, very high. Okay, so we're going to check out how the AP down one works. We're going to take out this character first, just to see. We'll just get a command in. 60% chance that my team will all get AP down. And there you go. So you can see my entire team has the minus 30 AP for 2 turns. Okay, so this time what I want to see is, does that passive work after Rolland has been taken out? We've got a lot of low level enemies here, so it should be easy to kind of figure out. 1 attack comes in, hasn't procced. 2 has come in, not procced. 3 have come in, not procced. It's unlikely that 60% won't have procced 3 times in a row. But what I'll do is, I'll do it a few more times just to make sure. Okay, so I'll say I've tested out thoroughly enough. I did about 30 attacks just to make sure. No time procced once the character is down. Out of 30 means the character, in my opinion, has to be alive for that 60% to be able to proc. So now we'll go over the passives of Rolland, and first up we have got grade 1 with hard work part 1, where there's a 50% chance that 30% heal for each enemy with a negative status effect will proc. This is each enemy with an effect, not each effect on an enemy team. So if an enemy has 5 effects, that still counts as 1 enemy, but if 5 enemies have 1 effect, then it would count as 5 enemies. Next, at grade 2, we have Precision 1 coming in, making it 20% lower resistances against this fighter. At grade 3, we have Hard Work 2 come in, where it makes it a 100% chance that that heal will proc with each enemy that has a negative status effect. Next up, we have grade 4, where there'll be a 30% HP boost from Healing Pain Part 1. At grade 5, we'll have Totally Exhausted Part 1. When this fighter or a teammate dies, 60% chance all teammates get minus 15 AP for 2 turns. It's worth noting with this one that the percentage chance is the max it can be, even at grade 5. It will only be upgraded with the amount of AP reduction it's going to have when it's fully maxed out. And that happens in the limit breaks. As you can see, at LB1, Precision 2 comes in, making it 40% lower resistances against this fighter. At Limit Break 2, Healing Pain 2 comes in, bringing the HP boost up to 60% total. And then at Limit Break 3, Totally Exhausted 2 comes in, making it still a 60% chance, but now it will do 30 AP reduction for 2 turns when Rolland is taken out or a teammate. So if Rolland is not focused early on and your enemy wants to focus other characters, this is going to give you a better chance of Rolland actually being able to proc this. If Rolland is targeted first, then it gives your teammates a chance to get their abilities off. So you're basically getting a bonus either way. These passives are actually not too bad. The HP boost is nuts. Even on the attack team test that I did, I got over 100k attack, no problem. So you're going to have Rollands rolling around with like 140 to 160k HP. This obviously means that the actual initial damage he's going to be able to do is going to be close to like 30 to 40k damage on that first turn signature move, and then the rush is going to be significantly higher. So the damage output of Rolland is just going to be crazy, and coming from a defense team character, that is actually kind of nuts. And obviously the rest is pretty nice. The fact is there's a bit more support stuff in here as well is quite nice. You could say the precision is not amazing because it's only going to be boosting effectively the disarm on the rush, the hemorrhage on the rush, and the hemorrhage on the signature move. There's not much else it's going to be doing there. But this will potentially, like I say, help against faction assault bosses if Hilltop ever becomes an allegiance to be used there, because there'll be lower resistances against those bosses. Anyone who picks up Rolland will be thankful for it if Hilltop ever rolls around, I think. Now, Rolland has a specialist skill, and it is going to be Dexterity. This is a dual specialist. If this specialist takes damage, the amount taken is reduced based on their current AP. The more AP the specialist has, the less damage they take. If this fighter's health is above 20% and they take damage that would take them out, their health will be instead reduced to 19%. This can counter some certain things. For instance, it can counter some executes and decaps and so on and so forth. Like, for instance, in a clip that I was doing previously, I actually had Ghost decap Rolland because of the improved decap that he has on his specialist skill, but this counters it. It actually stopped his decap. And obviously it takes more to take Rolland out, and then when you take out Rolland, you've got the passive stop proccing with the 60% chance to do AP drain to all enemies. So it's actually not too bad at all. The specialist skill is just going to make it slower. You're not going to have as easier time of taking this character down on the first turn as well. The first turn is generally where you want to survive if you can, and this is just going to give a team a little bit more survivability. If you've got like team-based Halo, it's going to have more chance of that fully proccing because it's going to take more hits to take down a team with Rolland in. So yeah, not too bad a specialist skill for a defense team, just more of a one for survivability. And considering how much HP Rolland has, that 19% HP is still going to be tens of thousands. Now, things massively change when we check out Rolland's weapon. I have been keeping it under wraps, basically, all the clips, you haven't seen it. And it is Rolland's Guarding Hammer. It has got 40% HP, 40% defense. In the third slot, it has a very unique special here. Slow Self. At the start of each wave, this fighter gets 1% slow for 5 turns. So it's a self debuff. However, this will proc the fourth one for the first 5 turns, which is under pressure. When attacked while slowed, dazed, or confused, reflect 250% of the damage. This is going to be really hard to take out Rolland with basic attacks, with a lot of signature moves and a lot of rushes too. Anything that has attack-based rushes and signature moves will proc this 100% of the time, and it will be a massive reflect. Considering Rolland's got absolute gargantuan amounts of HP, This means that he's going to be able to survive big hits. He'll survive a one-shot as well due to his specialist skill, so he will always be able to reflect at least one hit as long as he's not receiving deal damage. Deal damage does not proc weapons, and neither do disarm characters. As much as the last slot cannot be disarmed, disarmed characters do not actually proc that when they attack due to the second half of their specialist skill. So as we attack, you can see that Rolland is now got a 1% slow for 5 turns. This is going to make that 4 slot proc every single time. We've got Crag the Destroyer here. We're going to do a signature move, and it's going to proc the specialist skill, so he's not going to get taken out. And it's going to be a guaranteed reflect because of the damage type that I did. And Crag, you can see, has been taken out because of this. Obviously, the higher HP I have, the more survivability I have, I could potentially have much higher HP than this, but at the same time, I can't be one-shot unless someone wastes a normalize on me, when you'd probably want to use a normalize on what would be seen as a more problematic defense team character. Like, this in itself isn't as problematic, but it is problematic if you start trying to attack this character, because 250%, even on a basic attack, can be devastating for some of these attack team characters. Now, it is worth noting with this weapon, if you did want to use Rolland on a team with cleansers, so characters like Tyrese 2000 or Jesus 2000, they would cleanse this 3rd slot debuff, because it is a debuff as much as it is Rolland putting on himself. So you would want to switch out the weapon in that particular team, or use Rolland in different teams so that you can actually utilize this weapon properly. Just something to note, it comes as a 5-star weapon straight away, so you can put another weapon in their hands while you're upgrading this instantly. So that was just a little look at Gold Mythic Rolland, who is going to be, like I said, an advanced token wheel character coming to RTS. And this character looks pretty nasty, I'm not going to lie. I think will fit in the Davy defense teams quite well, because I don't think there's too many cleansers on those teams. And as you take characters out, it will reduce your AP. You have to focus Rolland. You somehow have to get around that actual weapon slot. You can deal damage, but as you saw, like, the amount of HP this character is going to have is going to be absolutely monumental. If you have the right setup on the character, you can still get like 50-60k defense as well. So yeah, the amount of damage output this character is going to have is crazy too. If you think about a 60% HP boost, if you have a HP boost lead, HP boost weapons, you're going to be looking at such high HP that signature move is going to do, like I say, 30 to 40k damage to a line of enemies too. It's actually kind of hilarious how crazy that's going to be. But do tell me what you think of Rolland here as a new character coming to the game, a comic book character that I know I've seen a lot of people comment that we don't get enough comic book characters that we haven't seen before. Well, here's one. Are there any other comic book characters you'd like to see come to RTS? Let me know in the comments down below. Best of luck if you enter the giveaway. Thank you very much for tuning in, and as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.